I watch dubbed anime. There, I said it. Lambast me in the comments, question my credibility, deny my father, refuse my name, but I will die before you take Justin Briner's beautiful Deku voice from me.
Haha! Well, I'm going to make a response video to this. Prepare your anus, fucklord! Oh. Oh. Huh. Well, I mean, I was gonna do this video anyway, but... well, damn, now I'm kind of under a moral obligation to. Hey YouTube, Silverbean here. So, first of all, if you're here to stroke the wang of your confirmation bias, I hate to disappoint you, but this video isn't made for the purpose of debunking Explanation Point's video on his reasoning behind liking dubbed anime. I actually agree with a fair amount of the things he said, and as far as his content goes, I'd say it was a solid, well thought out, well made piece. However, I wanted to see if I could contribute anything to the discussion by bringing up some points in favor of the objectively superior subbed anime. I didn't feel like watching Explanation Point's video about dubbed anime at the time of its initial release, because I was in a bad mood that day, and the last thing I needed was to listen to someone else's opinion. Ugh. But I'm glad I finally got around to it, because it finally provided me with an incentive to work on a new video so I can finally get this channel off the ground. Or from under it. To make things even better, I essentially got the seal of approval from the man himself, so I'm gonna take this opportunity and throw my hat into the ring. I can't take it off though, I didn't make a sprite for that. To be entirely honest, when I initially watched his luck versus skill video, I visibly rolled my eyes when he used an English dub clip for his video and then proceeded to take a line from that clip to use as reference to support his argument. I rolled my eyes because I couldn't help but think to myself, he didn't say paradigm shift in the original subbed, he said fucking Copernican revolution. But after watching his In Defense of Dubs video, there's one point that he makes that completely blew my mind. The anime that he's watching and the one that I'm watching are basically different anime. Okay, yeah, technically they're still the same anime, but if I, a subber, were to have a discussion with Explanation Point, a dubber, about the significance of characterization within the Pokuno Boku Academia anime, and we both use quotes from our respective versions of the anime, it would become readily apparent that there would be a disconnect in our discussion when we realize that what we're watching are two different characters with the same designs. And that's definitely one reason why people would want their friends and peers to watch the same version of the anime they're watching. The whole subs versus dubs issue. Because if you've ever even seen an internet discussion regarding power levels in the Dragon Ball Z fanbase, and you go in telling everyone that during the Saiyan Saga Goku had a power level of over 9,000, you can immediately expect everyone who watched the original translation will fucking dogpile you and tell you the correct translation was over 8,000 into KYS yourself. And I always think to myself, who the fuck cares? It's a single number difference and it has no actual effect on the fucking scene. But it does create an inconsistency between both versions of the anime that would lead to people to be confused when discussing power levels, which is why people get so heated about things like this. And that's understandable. Hell, you could use this as an argument to say that the dub is invalid for discussion of the anime because the information present isn't as one-to-one as the subs would be to the original source material. But hey, if me and my friend both watch the dub, then there's no problem, so that argument is about as valid as telling someone not to play a game just because you think it's bad. As Explanation Point also stated in his video, things like my Dragon Ball example can also be a reason people who prefer subbed anime might not like a dubbed change, because of how it affects the context of a character. For another example of this, also from the Dragon Ball Z series, people who grew up with the dub are under the belief that Goku is akin to Superman in regards to his morals and values, because of the way they wrote his English counterpart, when in reality, the original Japanese Son Goku doesn't fight for justice, per se. He fights for the thrill to push himself to the limit and enjoy the excitement of fighting a strong opponent. He didn't spare Vegeta because he thought he could change to become a better person. He spared Vegeta because he wanted to beat him in a fair fight. And the same thing goes for Frieza, but in the dub they changed that. Personally, I prefer the voice actor for the English dub of adult Goku more, because it's what I grew up with, and even today I feel it's far more fitting a voice for him as an adult than his Japanese counterpart, who I've gotten used to from watching Dragon Ball Super, but I still don't particularly enjoy her voice. But that could be another factor as to why people will be more inclined to watch a dub or a sub, the voice work, which leads me to my next comparison that I want to make. Explanation Point expresses that he loves Justin Briner's voice work as Midoriya, but I've heard the English Midoriya, and while I do think it fits, I prefer the Japanese voice for 3 reasons. It's the original voice, go figure, it's the first version of his voice that I heard, and I prefer the way that Daiki Yamashita, his Japanese voice actor, sounds when portraying the character. When it comes to how the two voice actors deliver strong emotion, I can't help but hear the English version of Midoriya as a whiny, sniveling coward who sounds like he could break out into tears at any moment, while in the Japanese version I feel like he's able to shift from sounding squeamish to confident and powerful when the time comes. Here, just listen to these clips of Midoriya yelling after cleaning up the beach in both the dub and the sub. This really is just a matter of preference, but to me, the Japanese voice sounds a lot more like someone who's ready for battle. But that isn't all I have to say on the matter. There's also the case of certain characters' voices in the dub being jarring to listen to, especially when compared to their Japanese counterparts, either due to them being too different from the original, or for just sounding straight up weird. For instance, I don't particularly like the Japanese voice for Sue, but her English voice is just completely annoying for me to listen to.
I told you to call me Sue. I kinda fell apart on you, didn't it?
But for a better, less subjective example regarding another frog character... Now, imagine listening to this voice, getting attached to it in a show with over 400 episodes, and then switching over to this.
Kiddo. Foolish Pitaponians, you have no idea what's in store for your pathetically long-legged race. Bow down to his superior stubbiness, desperately sing praises to your new king! All hail Sergeant Keroro!
This is yet again a pretty minor example of why I personally prefer subbed anime over its dubbed counterpart, mostly because in these cases, the different takes on a character can change my perception of that character, and similar to Explanation Point's argument about Attack on Titan, it can impact your enjoyment of a show. Speaking of which, let me get on to what might be my final point as to why I prefer subbed anime over dubbed anime. Growing up on English dub anime, I never had a problem with voice acting because I was a stupid fucking kid, and I couldn't be bothered to care about anything that wasn't the moments of sheer violence within the anime I was watching. But when I started watching Japanese subbed anime because I was too impatient to wait for the dubs, that pretty much changed the way I viewed anime. Once I went back to the English dub, I couldn't help but feel like no matter how well the voice actors performed in the English dub, in spectacularly dubbed anime like Fullmetal, Alchemist, Brotherhood, and the current Boku, Boku school, something was always off. And after watching a few American cartoons and listening to the voice acting, I finally figured it out. The main reason that English dub bugs me so much is because these people don't speak like real English speakers. No matter how many well-spoken lines the characters speak in English, there's always a bunch of other uncanny lines that just don't sound like natural English conversation.
I will not lose this time! I, Edward Elric, will use my considerable powers to vanquish you!
It's even tighter in here than I thought. I couldn't get through this far if I was regular size.
Aw, was that your girlfriend? My girlfriend? No way!
What's with the hair, Krillin? I thought you were naturally bald.
Oh no, I just kept it well waxed. I could have sworn I told you that.
I mean, you just don't look like, you know, Krillin anymore.
Guess love makes you change some things.
Whoa, watch out, everyone! Android 18 is here!
You know what? I like Deku. It could make a great hero name. Plus, I think it sounds kinda cute.
Deku it is! Just like that? Weren't you saying that it was an insult? Paradigm shift! My whole world is upside down!
何をやってるんだよ僕。今日はちゃんと言わなきゃダメじゃないか。
What's up, boy? You falling in love with the mirror?
Huh?
Don't worry about the failure of love. It won't fail you if you're courageous. But you can't always be lucky.
Listening to conversation like that sounds somewhat unnatural just makes me uncomfortable. Obviously, this is just the result of dubbing one language over another. If you're going to record audio over a clip without changing anything else about it, you're forced to fit your entire sentence in whatever time slot they allow you. And for a drastic example outside of anime, but still dubbed content, that leads you to get scenes like this.
Is everyone alright? We should be landing soon.
The hatch doors are
Don't
open.
sweat it, Knuckles. The only thing in the cargo bay are those
What do you
Master
mean, don't
Emeralds.
sweat it?
Right?
Land the
Knock
shuttle
it
and
off,
let me
Knuckles.
out.
We're gonna crash this thing if you keep that up. Oh no! Don't touch that lever!
Okay, I know that's not entirely fair to use, but it is stuff like this that is why I'm more inclined to shy away from dubbed anime. Because even if the voice acting is good, this will still always be an issue, because that's just the nature of dubbing. Abridged shows like Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged are able to get away with legitimately good dialogue that sounds like normal English voice acting by not restricting themselves to a time slot. They can have the characters talk however long they need to for the joke.
So, Piccolo, what brings you to my neighborhood?
I sensed a disturbance.
Well, I am pretty disturbing. Remember that time I drank that guy? That was f***ing weird.
So I take it you're the one who exterminated this entire city then?
Oh, no, that was another guy. His name was Shit Sherlock, first name no.
Which is another thing is how this issue affects comedic timing. I'm pretty sure Explanation Point made a similar point in his video about how the way subs will be translated can kill a joke if the joke relies too heavily on the use of wordplay of some sort, by shifting the order of the words so that the sentence makes sense to an English speaker, but at the cost of the joke.
Third is comedy. Hearing a joke and reading a joke are two entirely different experiences, and I think we can all agree that the former is preferable. Delivery and timing are key for getting comedy to land, and both of those things are rendered inoperable by subtitles.
But he also points out that English dub might have to remove a joke entirely or revise it to make it work in a better context, describing it as an exercise in creativity. And that's totally a good thing because it can give you some solid jokes from time to time. But then you also get dubs that completely miss the point and do this.
何ですかその格好。いつも言われるから露出度を抑えたんだ。どうかな。次は体を変えるといいですよ。What are you wearing that for?
Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes.
Give it a week, they'll be begging you to change back.
Huh?
I don't usually watch anime for the comedy, and obviously the more culturally grounded any joke is, the harder it will be for any person who doesn't understand that culture to understand the joke or find it funny. That's why visual humor usually does a better job at being universally funny, because everyone can laugh at someone getting hurt, but not everyone can laugh at jokes like this.
いや、オールマイトの力だぞ。こんなにぶっ飛べる足になったんだ。着地くらい。お茶の子サイサイサイサイサイサイサイサイサイサイサイサイ。
I actually didn't even detect a joke the first time watching, but when I was rewatching it, I was focusing less on what the sub box said and more on what he said, and I was actually kind of proud of myself for picking up on that use of wordplay. However, jokes like this will naturally fall flat for an English speaker, so in dubs it's perfectly understandable that they have to change them. For instance, here's a joke that only works in English. I'm not actually going to read that out loud because it's terrible. The joke only works in English because of the word red being pronounced similarly to the past tense of the word read, and then after hearing the punchline you can make that connection, and then be severely disappointed in your friend for telling you that joke. Or if you're like me, laugh unironically. But the point that I'm making is that this problem with translation exists regardless of whether or not you're watching anime subbed or dubbed, but in dubbed it's a relatively different problem since once again they'd have to change that joke entirely, because if we were to translate that joke into Japanese, it wouldn't work because all of these fucking words that mean red don't sound similar enough to their word for read for a joke to be made out of it. Explanation Point also made an interesting point about the French dub of Tangled having to revise the joke entirely because the name Rapunzel isn't a nonsense word in their language. Ironically enough, I found the French joke to be funnier in theory than the English joke for being more creative. But even in cases where jokes can be rewritten in a dub to still be funny, sometimes the delivery of that line can still be bothersome, and for me, that detracts from the joke. This, once again, is a matter of the limitations of dub, and the way that these limitations affect the delivery is usually enough to keep me from laughing as much, like the medium they're presenting the joke in is too limiting for it to reach its full potential. Even if it's good, sometimes it still just sounds unnatural. And if we take scenes from natively English-speaking shows, the conversation and dialogue usually feels more natural, for very obvious reasons.
Oh, this is awkward. It's like we're in sync. And now we're both talking and... Right, I'll just stop talking and you can... Okay, the only way we can get out of sync
is if I say something really unexpected like...
Business clown! Meet Flan! Thunderquack! Just pick up your phone and let's never talk again, okay?
It's nice to know we can still have peaceful days like this without any trouble.
Almost.
Hey, kid! Drop those fry bits! Drop them!
Oh no, it's the cops!
Huh?
All the years of ordering off menu have finally come back to taunt me!
You mean haunt you?
Steven, that's not even a police car, it's just—
I surrender! So I was just gonna ask, what are your hobbies?
Oh, lots of stuff, I guess. There's skateboarding, which, you know. I'm kinda into history books. I actually read this really cool one about—
Interesting. What kind of music do you like?
Even if these scenes are somewhat cringe-inducing in their own ways, I can tolerate them a lot better because the characters feel more natural. I don't feel as much like the voice actors are trying to fit the time slot of a clip than I do like the characters are having an ordinary, human, English conversation. This problem would still exist in reverse if I were watching an English show dubbed in Japanese, because that's just the nature of translation, and there's nothing particularly wrong with that. If you can tolerate dubbed anime in spite of that because you're not an overly picky bitch who wouldn't eat eggs if they were sunny side up versus scrambled, then I completely respect that opinion, because that's what this debate is in the end, a matter of preference and opinion. Some guys like swords, and some like guns, and some like men. So while I personally prefer subbed anime, Explanation Point's video has brought about a new perspective for me personally as a watcher of anime. To make matters even more fascinating, on the same day that I watched this video, a new coworker of mine expressed his mutual enjoyment of my Boku's Deku Nut Academy anime series, and when I asked him if he watched the anime subbed or dubbed, he said both. My mind was fucking blown. This was already after I just spent 17 minutes having my opinions changed, and I immediately developed a newfound respect for this man and a newfound appreciation for dubbed anime as its own individual work piece. Seriously guys, if you're gonna watch one over the other, just try to remember that whatever reasons you provide as to why your side is superior, those reasons are all subjective, and others are equally as entitled to disagree. Not all subs are good, and not all dubs are terrible. No matter what you say, only so much can be done in way of convincing someone to change their opinions. I'm actually disappointed that Explanation Point's video about this didn't get more views, because that shows a disgusting amount of closed-mindedness from the sub fans of the anime community. So while I'm going to still stick to subbed anime because it's released faster and the subtitles don't bother me as much because I can usually read fast enough for it not to matter, Explanation Point has enabled me to see a new side of this issue that I hadn't yet considered. And to that, I tip my hat off to brilliant punctuation. Except I still can't do that because I didn't make a sprite for it. Okay, well, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, why not help me get this channel off the ground and subscribe? Or don't. I can't make you, but I'd like it. And if you're any bit interested in watching the video that this is vaguely a response to, then go ahead and check out Explanation Point. He's only got like 9 fucking videos and he's already got over 55,000 subscribers. But we can get him even higher than that if we work at it. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a good rest of the day. This is Silverbean and I hope you guys... Fuck, I suck at outros.